I watched the Megan Thee Stallion documentary, and I have some quick thoughts, so let's get into it. At the end of October, the documentary Megan Thee Stallion and Her Words dropped on Amazon Prime. It chronicles her life story, but focuses on her career starting in 2016 through the Tory Lanez trial and its aftermath. I'll be honest, I went in as a fan of hers, and I left emboldened that I've liked her music and personality since 2019 when my homegirl Nicole put me onto her. I like a lot of the new mainstream women in rap. I stopped being such a hardcore rap purist some years ago, and I was able to see other types of rappers for what they are. Doechii, Cardi, Meg, Glorilla especially, they regularly get spins for me. They're authentic, they're fun, and truth be told, they're better than a lot of these mainstream rappers, especially the men. While I can appreciate other types of rap existing, even if I don't necessarily enjoy them personally, the women I like can actually rap. Like, Megan caught my attention because her freestyles, flows, her lyrical content, all of that, just genius level. When I saw that she was a total package as an MC, I respected her even more as a musician, and especially when that trauma scene dropped, I was like, whew, like she hit a new plateau for me, really. Like subject matter, everything. I always want more from her. And then that Tory Lanez thing happened, and so let me just address everything in the doc as it appears. First, I didn't realize her mom was that integral to the beginnings of her career and only passed in 2019. Her mom was also an MC who encouraged her, managed her, and even shot her first videos. It showed her giving advice at different points, and Megan says repeatedly how integral her mom was to her success, and it's obvious. Her developing a brain tumor and then Megan having to make the decision to pull the plug in a short amount of time, that was devastating. Her dad had only passed about 6 years earlier, and her great-grandmother died the same month as her mom. Having not known how prevalent her mom was before watching this, I can see a lot of why she chose the direction she did with her music and personality. It also explains the downward spiral she experienced that led to her involvement with Tory Lanez. I want to read this post from Brittany Ransom on Facebook. She's the creator of When Killers Get Caught, a true crime podcast. It reads, Kanye West's mom died November 10th, 2007, and y'all still accept every racist, bizarre thing as he just hasn't been the same since his mom died. Kanye is 47. Meg Thee Stallion's mom died March 2019. Her grandma died March 2019. Her father died in 2013. She is 29 years old. Interesting we don't hear, well, she had to pull the plug on her mom in 2019 who was dying from a brain tumor. That's gonna mess anyone up. She's supposed to be a pillar of strength and able to handle losing both parents before 25, and her grandma died 2 weeks after her mom. Her entire support structure died in 2019, and she's been on her own to figure out adulthood and her career. Yet no grace for Megan? And she's right. The man children always get exceptions while actual women who are victims barely get respect, mainly from men, but there are others who don't like when women speak up about black men when they're dangerous. As a black man, I absolutely wouldn't want to be lied on regarding an interaction with someone that's not based on facts, but that's not what keeps happening the majority of the time. In most of these instances that hit the public, there's not only evidence, but pictures and even videos to confirm what actually happened. The trend that I've noticed is that when women are killed, it's a tragedy that should have been prevented, and they wonder why no one stopped the perpetrator before it happened. They start retroactively looking for warning signs and think this will help them in the future. When cops kill unarmed black women like Breonna Taylor and Tatiana Jefferson, we want to look at their records and admonish the police department that employed them in order to put an end to this behavior, which is a fully valid position that I agree with. However, whenever black women survive, then the perpetrators just made a one-time mistake or aren't really like that. The women are exaggerating and their claims are diminished. It's some sort of conspiracy, or they're just flat out lying about their circumstances entirely, and maybe they deserved what happened to them. Think Rihanna, Cassie, Megan. Hell, even Nicki Minaj said Meek Mill abused her, and yet all of their abusers have plenty of supporters. Additionally, most of them were also in this documentary siding with Tory. That's pretty telling. Chris Brown and Diddy were not only in this video advocating for Tory and calling Meg a liar, but remember, Diddy put Tory on a song shortly before the guilty verdict, and he's shown in the documentary from an Instagram Live with Tory, where he's basically saying that the both of them are alike, and I think the timing of this doc couldn't be any more convenient with Puff in jail for all that he's done, and it's being very obvious that they share a kinship. Abusers notice other abusers and love to keep them in their circles. The doc does a really good job retelling the whole situation bit by bit as it played out in public, on the news, and on social media. It confirms something people have speculated on for a while, that Megan had slept with Tory at some point before the shooting and that she lied to Gayle King during the interview about it. And I'm sorry, this is the least important part of the doc, as well as the situation at large. First, many female celebrities are grilled in interviews about their personal and sexual histories to a disgusting degree, and truth be told, that wasn't any of Gayle's or the world's business. I get that she's a journalist and I respect that, but that line of questioning is inconsequential and Megan deserved to keep that part of her life private. Regardless of what she says in her music, her name hasn't been attached to too many people when it comes to her sex life, and she's allowed to keep it that way. Male rappers lie enough about women who they slept with, and truth be told, they become embarrassing when the truth comes out. And so I'm with her. Next, that still doesn't give Tory a reason to have shot her. Listen, I do not care if Megan accepted his engagement with a blood diamond ring and he caught her in the middle of his bedroom banging some other dude. You don't have the right to shoot her. It's just not justified at all. That's it. That's just it. And the thing is, that's not even what happened. And it's pretty clear that since no one has come up with any scenario that makes sense as to why the trigger got pulled, all we have is the fact that it happened and that troll is deservedly in jail. Megan didn't tell the police what happened, and can you blame her? Again, not only was it the summer of George Floyd, but black women have been known to shield black men from the authorities for centuries at this point. She didn't want him to die because she obviously cared for him at some point and was in shock, but for those saying that she wasn't shot at all, the footage of the aftermath is in the doc and there's clearly blood under every footstep if you look. She told the doctor she stepped on glass, and when they found out, they made sure the police knew that there were bullet fragments in her foot. Megan stayed quiet about it and tried to move on, but she never actually called the police, and Tory was prosecuted by the state, not Megan. He violated several laws, including his own probation. It was not Megan Pete versus Daystar Peterson. It was the state of California versus Daystar Peterson. She did not bring the case against him. She didn't have to. All of the evidence pointed to him, and she only testified as a victim. And yet, while awaiting trial, Tory released music trying to assert his innocence while making a video chopping up face horse legs as a butcher. He violated his restraining order at Rolling Loud by going on stage after her with the baby, and yet people think this is innocent behavior? These are all the signs people would be pointing out if she died at some point, but since she survived, it was all misunderstandings and not that much of a big deal. His victim, a black woman, did everything she could to not throw him under the bus, and he did everything in his power to get under the tires himself. And despite all the bullshit from people like Joe Budden, academics, LeBron James, and many other bloggers and random people online, he ended up being found guilty in an open and shut case. So I would like to extend a hearty fuck you to everyone who caped for an abuser. You all should go serve some of his time together. I'm sure he could use the company with like-minded individuals. And while this did take up a decent portion of the doc, it's not the only story that was told. Her alcoholism was addressed and directly triggered by her mother's passing. Instead of taking time off immediately, she kept working, even showing off a video of her mother at one of her shows weeks after she died. Her ex-friend Kelsey was featured pretty prominently, especially before the trial, and her betrayal is heartbreaking in the context of all that happened. Also, we get a brief blink and you miss it view of Partisan Fontaine, her partner of 3 years in the whole doc. And if you already don't know who he is, you won't even notice him. And this is what I mean about her being able and allowed to keep aspects of her life and relationships private. Overall, he wasn't much of a factor in many of her decisions or the story they wanted to tell, and while parts of the video for Cobra are played, the verse that references him is largely omitted, and well, I mean, that's that on that. I love how they used anime to put together flashbacks for the portions that there wasn't any real video footage. The animated version of her looks completely accurate, and every single time I feel like it spoke to her love of the medium more than just putting every outfit change or collaboration in our faces. The doc wasn't about every piece of her life, so I get why they didn't show clips from her high school or how much she's into anime, but instead you'll notice her wearing character shirts, watching anime to de-stress, and of course the anime clips themselves inserted into the doc. It's a natural extension of her day-to-day life that it didn't need to be pointed out for the people to get it. That's what's understood doesn't need to be said. Also, Meg is a hard worker. While some people are confused about how she was able to sell out an arena tour while selling fewer albums than tickets in the streaming era, numbers I don't honestly respect, it becomes very evident in this doc how that's possible. She legitimately started from the bottom and worked her way up. No industry planting needed. She performed in seedy clubs and what appeared to be concrete steps at a college hangout at night. It didn't matter if there were 50 people or 500. She performed just as hard for all of them, and I don't think anyone who saw her in those early days left disappointed. It's also obvious she's one of the few mainstream rappers who doesn't rap over their vocals while performing live, even while dancing, and years of these types of rigorous non-stop performances are why. Once again, her mother was in rehearsals with her, giving her sound advice on how to breathe from the diaphragm and catch her breath during the hook of songs so as to not get winded. And her mother was truly a visionary, and I can only imagine what creativity would have come from Megan had she survived. Truly an insurmountable loss. All in all, I love the doc, and I may watch it again in the future, probably after I run through Agatha All Along one more time, because that show was just about perfect. But if you're someone who jumped on the Tory bandwagon after he shot Meg, you'll hate this, and I hate you too. I have no idea why you're watching my videos. Go ahead and block me. I don't need to see you. But if you're a fan of hers, this won't change your mind about her, just probably make you love her more. If you're indifferent or want to know what the hype is about with her, I think this is a great point to dive in. Even if you're not a huge fan of her music, it's informative, and I think it truly embodies why Megan Thee Stallion is such a relatable force for this new generation, and I think the world is better for her around and her music. Those who have reached the end, what did you think of the doc if you watched it? And if you haven't seen it, you planning to, let me know in the comments. And until next time, I'm Brilliance Proper. Peace to hip hop, peace to you and yours, and I'll see you on the next one.